Good afternoon and greetings from Kenya. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to my presentation. Um, my presentation is titled Exploring Machiavellian Motivations in Sportsmanship, a study of selected Kenyan universities. My name is Caleb Kandagor, a PhD candidate of Daystar University, pursuing leadership and governance. So welcome to my presentation. So what is the context of this study? So the context of this study is that globally, sports generates interest, but also highlight an ugly side, which is characterized by issues like blood doping, violence, match fixing, and cheating. And so this takes us to try to define what is Machiavellianism in sports. So it is taken from the works of Niccolo Machiavelli, the prince, whereby it says that the end justifies the means, which means success should be attained using whatever means. What matters by the end of the day is to be successful. It involves the intentional violation of rules or ethical principles to gain unfair advantage, which means that the person would like to win at whatever cost, whatever method that they want to use. And why did I contextualize this in a Kenyan university? So this particular research, it was an assignment towards a certain unit. And the research problem and gap here is that university games are avenues for nurturing sportsmanship. But also at the same time, we are alive to fierce competition. And this has led some institutions to cheat the system, whereby it results in undue advantage and discouraging genuinely talented students. It's a malpractice that undermines the spirit of fair competition and affects students' moral growth. So which means that the students' moral growth is stunted so that they cannot be able to pick out the moral issues. The research gap for this is that there's limited understanding of the specific motivations leading students to cheat within the Kenyan university framework. So when you look at the existing literature and research on Machiavellianism in sports, it has been conducted in Western countries. So this one is Europe and North America, and also in Asia. And so this one leaves a gap in understanding how these motivations manifest in Kenya. And that is a particular gap that this research was trying to focus on and trying to find out what is really happening in the university's front. Most of the studies that we found in Kenya, they are focused on sports cheating in the primary school and secondary school levels. They have been given attention, but there's limited research ongoing for the universities. And that's what this research tried to fill. What were the objectives of this research? The research objectives and the guiding questions. Um, for this, the primary research question was, what are the motivations behind Machiavellian behavior in university games among students in selected Kenyan universities? And the key research objectives. So for this particular presentation, we are going just to give two to investigate the types of Machiavellian behaviors. So we're going to define what is Machiavellian behaviors as applied in sports at universities. And secondly, is to investigate the motivations toward sports Machiavellianism. So what can motivate a sportsman or a sportswoman to search or to find undue advantage over a competitor? What are the motivations? And let's turn our attention then to the next thing about what was the methodology and the conceptual framework of this research. So this research, the study design was quantitative research study. The study relied on self-reporting questionnaire, which means it tries to measure as much as how a respondent can be truthful in self-reporting. The sample And the context, this was a pilot study, which means that the results from this study are going to feed into a larger study. We had a sample of 89 students, and they were drawn from 2 universities. The first one is Strathmore University, which is a private university, and the second university is Pwani University, a public university. It will be good to mention where these 2 universities are situated in Kenya. The first one, that is Strathmore, is situated in Nairobi, while Pwani University is situated in the coastal city of Mombasa. How did we do the sampling? So we utilized a method called stratified random sampling was employed to secure students across different sports and genders. So in fact, what we did for this is that the participants were approached during the sports day, or maybe when they were having a game, a league game, and then the research assistants were able to approach them and be able to administer the questionnaires on the day of those particular matches. What kind of instruments did we use? So we use a self-administered close-ended questions designed to elicit what we call true reflection of responses. So they were close-ended, true, false, highly likely, and such. So we're using a Likert scale for this. The key sections included the demographics, participation observation of cheating, Likert scale ratings for motivations, acceptability, and severity of the consequences. Data collection utilizes the CompCare app. So there's an app called CompCare for enhanced security and data management. So what we were doing is that the research assistants, they had the data, they had the app in their phones, and then they go around for each of the participants or the respondents who are given the phone, and then they fill the questionnaire, and then they click send, and that data was stored in a secure manner, whereby we are not able to, there's no way we could be able to identify who this particular participant was. Data collection utilizes CompCare, as I've said, to enhance security, data management. The conceptual framework, which we call the functional analysis of cheating, the study was framed around factors that contribute to Machiavellianism in sports, leading to possible outcomes, 2 possible outcomes for our conceptual framework: Machiavellian scores or ethical sportsmanship. So one of those was the resultant. And so let's look at the demographic profiles of the respondents. So we have just given a summary here. And so the total sample we have said is 89. And so we had 100% respondents. The average age was 21. So the ranges was between 17 years to 25 years. The gender, so we had the participants, 69 were male. And so 20 were female who participated in the study. The type of university, so private had 52 participants. So majority of them, which represented 58.4%, majority of the participants were from private universities. In terms of the year of study, the majority were third years, so 36% were third years. So the highest proportion of students were in their third year of study. The sports participation, ball games, so 85.9% were participating in ball games. In terms of the level of competition, 52% were participating in a league match. So over half of the participants were participating in the league level. Moving forward, other things we note in terms of the findings, prevalence of Machiavellian behaviors. So what constitutes Machiavellian behavior? So these were some of the options that we gave the respondents to be able to give us an answer. So in terms of, we were asking them, have you witnessed? The first one was as sportsmanlike conduct, for example, trash talking, intimidation, hooliganism, which was the highest. And in fact, it seems hooliganism, intimidation, and trash talking, 86.5% have witnessed it. Fielding of ineligible players or age cheating, that was 51.7%. Intentional rule breaking, like faking and all that. So that one is 42.7%. You break a rule with the hope that will not be found out. And of course, it works to your advantage. because the referees are human beings and sometimes they may be prone to errors. Use of performance enhancing drugs, so that was 42.7%. It's quite high. Much official bribery is low, which is 23.6%, but yeah, it is low, but if looked in a bigger picture, it's significant. Faking of injuries, so it is 25.8%, but the highest responded says they have never witnessed faking of injuries. So that one doesn't score highly. Equipment tampering is the least prevalent, that is 12.4%. And it could be because the participation for the sports was ball games. So where there's high likelihood of equipment tampering could be maybe in the track and field events and such. So there could be such possibility. Moving forward, we are still with our findings. Let's look at what are the possible predictors of Machiavellian scores. So this one was our regression analysis. I've not presented the figures here in the tables, but it's in the larger document. We're going to look at the significant associations and the non-significant associations. So from this study, the regression analysis revealed that the type of university and year of study were significant predictors of Machiavellian scores. So when you look at the scores that we got, is that private universities were more prone to cheating in sports. Also, the students in their first or second year of study were more prone to participate, or let's say to have a higher Machiavellian scores. As compared to that year's theirs was lower. It could be because of maybe they have stayed longer in school, they are more mature, they understand, and maybe they still want to safeguard themselves and all that. The non-significant associations from the regression analysis: gender was not a factor, big factor. Sports participation and level of competition did not exhibit any significant association with Machiavellian scores. So that one didn't affect the scores at all. Gender, sports participation, and level of competition, whether it was a university level, interclass level, or even the league level, did not matter. I want us to look now at our conclusions and what are the implications for this. The conclusions from this study is that there is normalization of unethical behavior. The high prevalence of Machiavellian behaviors, particularly as sportsmanlike conduct. Remember the one we talked about, trash talking, hooliganism, and intimidation, which was at 86%. Rule violation indicates significant ethical issue. So there's an ethical issue here that undermines the integrity of university sports, which means that an opponent can be intimidated, or even in a time whereby maybe they face intimidation or hooliganism, of course, it's going to tilt the scores to the other side. And that is wrong, because even though the team that's going to win, it is going to be normalized, so that many teams are going to resort to that behavior and it becomes normal. And so it's not bringing any fairness. The second one is institutional pressure and culture. So the finding that private university students scored higher suggests institutional culture and policies, such as potential sports scholarship pegged on performance, might be contributing factors. So what we realize about the students in the private university is that most of those students, a majority, over 90% of the students who are participating in sports, they were on a sports scholarship. And sports scholarship, it comes with its own pressures. So which means that this particular student has to perform at a high level to continue being in the team, and say that if they continue being in the team, then their scholarship is assured. So there was some form of pressure, and this kind of pressure builds into Machiavellian behavior. The other one was maturity and experience, which I had previously alluded to. The low Machiavellian scores among third year students compared to first year students may imply that as students mature and progress, they become more aware of the consequences or develop a stronger sense of sportsmanship. And this one is very important because such a conclusion will enable us to, we can do, to maybe to address the issue those who are senior, those are in third years, can be able to offer teammates support or even peer support to those who are in first years, some sort of mentoring, so that we can be able to restore integrity in the sport. The last one was the role of authority. So there was a significant negative correlation with coach and teammate encouragement, suggests that these figures are crucial in promoting or discouraging unethical behavior. So this one was very important. In sports, there is a recognition of who is in authority. Uh, Someone like the sports administrator or a coach or the captain, they can be very important agents in terms of discouraging Machiavellian behavior. So this study has established that those are the key figures they can act as a role model. We want to turn our attention now to the recommendations. What are the recommendations from this study? The first one is that educational programs implement ethics training and awareness programs for students, coaches, and administrators. Anyone involved in sports should benefit, or they should go a mandatory ethics training program. They need to be aware that Machiavellian behavior is bad for the sports and also damages the person ethically. What strategies can we use to be able to prevent? Design strategies that leverage students' existing awareness of repercussions by emphasizing the serious consequences of unethical actions. The students who are in third year, they are so much aware about the serious consequences as compared to students in first year. Maybe it's because they have had an experience, or maybe over the years they have witnessed what has happened to those who have exhibited or even implemented Machiavellian behavior. The last one, there has to be strictness. Universities in terms of regulations. Universities should consider implementing stricter regulations and monitoring systems to curb Machiavellian behaviors and foster a culture of integrity. So it is upon universities. So this is what this study recommend, that universities, they have to do something about it. They don't have to remain silent, especially, yes, they give the scholarship, but also at the same time, they have to be very strict that the students have to maintain integrity. Lastly, on the areas of research, um, there has to be a deeper research to find out, or to try to bring to the surface, what are the deeper motivations in private universities. Explore the role of sports scholarship, pressure from administrators and coaches as contributing factors to higher Machiavellian scores. It's good to be able to do a comparison with other private universities to establish whether it's a problem of one single university or similar universities that offer sports scholarship. Longitudinal studies conduct studies to track how Machiavellian behaviors and attitudes evolve over time and assess the long-term impact of the intervention. So this one will give us a clearer picture. The last one is the role of officials and financial rewards. There's need to investigate the factors limiting the effectiveness of officials in preventing cheating and the extent to which financial rewards and betting influence sports cheating. So if bets are being placed and we saw that the students are participating in league matches, could they be influenced by betting or even financial rewards? And on that note, I'd like to thank you for listening to my presentation, and hopefully next year then we are going to expand this study and come back and present maybe to a similar forum about what we have found out. Thank you. Bye.